ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Psychosin project here on That Metal Station. Today it is my absolute honour to welcome an absolute legend to the show, the one and only Samoth from the Wretched End, ex-member of Zyklon and ex-member of the immortal Zyklon, Emperor, sorry, I fucked that up. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you, man.
No problem. And how you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. It's,
excellent.
Early morning in Norway. The sun is shining. It's all good.
Yeah, it's pretty early here. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning here as well. So. Now, how's the reaction to the new Wretched End album been so far?
It's been really good, I think. Both press and fans seems to enjoy it a lot, and I think we managed to take things a little bit further with this new album, and I think it's reflected well on the feedback so far, on how it's been received.
Excellent, excellent. And how long did the new record take to write?
Well, it didn't take too long to actually write it, but from our previous album, Inroads, which came out in April 2012 until now, obviously it was a gap of 4 years, so it took us a while to finish the album, but the actual writing process wasn't too long. But in that time frame, I also had Emperor Nightside reunion shows going, and that obviously was a big priority for me, and it took quite a bit of time, and also the fact that we this time decided to record the whole album ourselves kind of prolonged the process. Plus certain things in our everyday lives, you know, like we basically, me and Cosmo, live in different places, and we have families, and you know, sometimes you have to make compromises and make the schedule work, basically.
Yeah,
obviously.
obviously.
As I said, like, since we did this almost like an experiment, like we decided to record this ourselves and not just go into a regular studio and do the recording session in a couple of weeks like we had sort of done.
Yeah.
Mostly in the past, but then that also, it was kind of like a trying and failing and learning some equipment, and it kind of was a different way of recording, but I think it's something that turned out really good, and also we didn't really have any strong pressure on us. We decided like we're just going to do this at our own pace and get our own thing going, and just work on it until we're happy with it the way we want it. And there's no record label breathing down our back. There's no tour smoke. This basically we do our own thing, and we also, one of the basis ideas of the Wretched End to begin with was to enjoy the process of being creative and making music and having that time in the studio, not as something that's a pressure, but something that you actually enjoy, because both of us are really into that whole setting of working together in a studio setting and writing music and being creative. And that was something I sort of missed a little bit in the end with Zyklon, because there was a lot of touring, and as everybody lived in very different places, we found very little time to get together and work as a creative unit. And yeah, so.
Excellent. So you basically.
But anyway, it took 4 years. But in retrospect, I don't think it really mattered if it came out 2016 or 2 years ago. Like, I'm happy with the album, and it feels great to have it out now. And I think the timing is actually quite good.
Yeah. I mean, you've given it enough time for people to really get into and enjoy the last album. Sorry?
You seem to be cutting out a bit now.
Oh, is that better?
Yeah, that seems to be better.
So you basically, you've given it enough time for people to really, really enjoy the last album while preparing something new, and obviously giving yourself time to have some time with your family, obviously yourself being busy with Emperor, etc. And to obviously have some time off for your family as well, because otherwise they might get a little bit pissed off.
yeah, and you know, it's life, you know. I do this. This is like, you know, there's many things that take up your time. So it's all about priorities and compromises, I guess, of what you can do when. And as I said, like, I don't really feel like a strong pressure. Like, I just try to do also as something I enjoy to do, and try to enjoy the process writing music, and when we got to the Emperor stuff, that was like full focus on that and enjoying like rehearsing that and preparing those shows and playing the shows, and I'm at this stage where I feel when I do a project, I sort of like focus on one thing, not like having too many projects that is going at the same time.
Yeah. Now, talking about Emperor briefly, obviously you've done the whole Nightside Eclipse album recently on those tours. How did it feel to go through learning those songs again after so long and playing them live again?
Yeah, that was obviously amazing, especially since we went out and did these shows with original drummer Bård Faust, which made it very special.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ishan and myself, we played most of those songs over the years anyway, so there were a few of the tracks we hadn't played like in a long time, but obviously we played the whole album in full, which we never done before, and we also added in some older demo tracks in the end, like from Brother the Tyrant, some songs that we never ever played live before, which is kind of ironic that after, I guess 25 years almost, we would perform like a song like The Ancient Queen live as a headliner at Hellfest, which is like a song we wrote so many years ago.
And at the time
we would never ever have pictured the situation like that would be included in the encore of our set list like 25 years later.
Yeah, and to think back 25 years ago when you originally wrote it, you probably never thought you'd be playing it in front of such a crowd either.
No, not really. I mean, back then we didn't really have any plans or strategies. We just, for one, we were just in our mid-teens when we actually started Emperor. But and we were just doing our own thing and being very consumed by the whole black metal movement and sound. But obviously back then everything was so underground and obviously completely different today with not having any internet or all of that stuff. It's like a completely different time really. So, and obviously the whole music scene, not only black metal but metal as a whole, has like become much bigger, and I guess also black metal and extreme metal is more united with the general metal community.
Yeah. Now going back to the new Wretched End album, was there any particular ideas you wanted to incorporate into this album?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to take things back a bit as far as production goes, because we felt like especially intros, it was kind of tweaked a little bit too much. I mean, it's a good sounding record, don't get me wrong, but we kind of got a little bit fed up with that sort of like that modern production. We kind of wanted to open up for more spontaneous elements and leave more room for the actual performance of the recording, and this is kind of the basic idea why we decided to do it ourselves. And we kind of wanted to strip things down, don't rely too much on technology, don't tweak every fucking thing to death. The drum session was like we're not relying on triggering, and everything is much more alive, I think, and that was really the main focus for us this time, to make a more organic sounding album.
So basically going as far removed from being having you sound completely overproduced and pro-tooled as you can get.
Yeah, I'm just getting a little bit tired of that sound, and I felt like with our previous album, it's like it sounds good, but it's just everything is like tweaked to like so-called perfection. But what's really left in the end of the real performance? Yes, it sounds good, but how good is it supposed to sound, or on what's the balance between taking away the actual performance and what can I say, like the spirit of the actual performance, rather than it just becoming like more like tweaked to so-called perfection from all the plugins or whatever that is available today, because there's so much stuff available that can always make sound better. But I think maybe that's also have to question sometimes, does it really sound better in the end, or what's better? Obviously it's also a matter of taste, but anyway, we just came to a point where we felt like, okay, we want to step back a little bit and like have it sound a little bit more like a little bit more alive, basically.
Did you consider at any point actually during recording a new album of maybe seeing if you could get it recorded in an analogue fashion, so it's straight to tape as opposed to being digital?
Yeah, that would be cool, obviously. But again, the way the music business are today, then it's not really so much studio budgets available. And I mean, the Wretched End is not a huge band by any means. And
Yeah.
so we are also relying on, on having a budget that allow ourselves to do what we want to do. And again, we are in a situation where we have to do compromises in that setting. And so, but obviously, to go into a studio with a full, like a more old school recording session, that would be great. But we weren't really in an opportunity to book ourselves into such a studio.
Yeah.
And also we kind of wanted to rely on our own experience from all over these years and try to do it ourselves, because we have obviously a lot of experience over the years. This is not the first time we recorded something on our own.
Yeah.
But, this is like first time we sort of done a full album, like every step except for the mix, which we went in and did with Strand Studio, which is the same studio that we recorded the previous albums with.
Excellent, excellent. Now, do you feel that with the Wretched End that it's a natural progression of what you was trying to achieve with Zyklon?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, listening to Psychosin and the Wretched End, it's not like completely two different worlds. You know, it's both extreme metal bands, and there's elements of both death metal and black metal and also some thrash metal. That was present in both Zyklon and in the Wretched End. I think with the Wretched End, it's maybe more atmospheric parts, but we also had that in Zyklon, I guess. But I think it's just overall sounds a little bit different with different vocalists and different lead guitar player and stuff like that, different drummers. You know, there's always going to be elements that takes us in a little bit different direction, but it's obviously a reflecting that I wrote a big chunk of the music in both bands, and I guess that's sort of the style I'm working with.
Yeah. Now, how would you yourself describe the music of the Wretched End?
I usually just label it as extreme metal. I must say I'm not really so concerned about all these tags. You know, some people are very concerned, like, what is it? Is it death metal? Is it black metal? What is it? You know, and like, we take influences from a whole bunch of, we are metalheads basically, and we grew up with classic heavy metal, classic thrash metal, death metal, black metal, and we can pull in some elements from all of those things.
Yeah.
But we try obviously not to be too schizophrenic, like jumping from one style to another, so we try to make an overall package that flows well, and I think that's what we have managed to do with the Wretched End.
Yeah, I think it'd be a bit strange if you suddenly come out with a new metal album. So
yeah, I don't think you're going to see us leading towards power metal or anything like that. Like, so, I mean, it's aggressive metal, but it also has a strong element of atmosphere, and I always like to bring in atmospheric elements also in Zyklon. Obviously in Emperor there was a huge aspect of atmospheric elements, but maybe more in a little bit more symphonic style rather than with Wretched, which is maybe not so symphonic in that sense, but that's also a part of it, and I think that was a bigger focus on this new album to get that underlying eerie atmosphere to shine through a little bit more. Again, reflecting on the production and the guitar sound and everything, like I think everything just fell more together on this new one.
Yeah. Now, what is behind the title for the new album, In These Woods from These Mountains?
It's obviously a title that is open for interpretation. Obviously, it has to do with the sort of obscurity of the woods, which is something that appeals a lot to me. I grew up in those environments. Like my whole life, I've been surrounded by nature. I live in rural Norway, which is obviously lots of mountains and forests. And so it's been my surroundings my whole life, and it has influenced me one way or another in all my projects over the years, from Emperor to Zyklon to this one. So basically it being like your environment where your creative outlet is taking form. So, but it's also like a darker aspect to it, and in the conceptual thingy also. If you see the booklet, there's photographs throughout the booklet of like old Norwegian buildings, like old wood houses and stuff. And it's also building an atmosphere based on things that it sort of is in your environment, but obviously you also try to create something like a dark framework around it as well, you know. So it's not just about twiddling along in the woods, sort of. There's some darkness to it, and that can just as well be open for your interpretation when you see the cover and read the lyrics as to mine. You know, it can be various things. Another thing that I almost like the whole Twin Peaks vibe. Almost talking about the woods. It's always something like out there, you know, in the woods, something unknown, something like that is different from everyday life, different from, like, there's always been something that humans over the centuries, there's some darkness in that in nature, and that I find that very appealing, that whole atmosphere.
Excellent.
Both visually, but also like the actual feeling of the surrounding of nature, basically.
That kind of feeling of nature, but also the unknowing feeling of it all as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, how do you feel your music has progressed since those early days in Emperor?
Yes, obviously a natural progression as you evolve as a human being, from being a teenager to adult life, and all the experience from recording with different bands and playing with different people, and so it's just a natural progression, I guess, and being better at your playing abilities and the way of writing music and stuff. So it's all by experience, but it's interesting also to see like how like, for example, now I feel like we kind of wanted to go back a little bit more to how we did things before, like, and it's all evolution, progression, I guess.
Now, when Emperor ended, was the plan to always write more extreme sounding music? Because obviously you've done Emperor, then you've done Scum and Zyklon, and now you've got the Wretched end, which seems to be sort of following this progression of going from the more symphonic stuff to more not so much straightforward, but more sort of brutal sounding riff-based music.
Yeah, I guess also with Emperor it was sort of aggressive and extreme in his own ways, but as you said, also with a strong symphonic element, and also towards then Emperor became very progressive. And I think already by the time we planned Prometheus, basically Emperor was already destined to be split up. That was already in the cards then, and at that point I kind of wanted to go out, play more live, play fast, aggressive stuff, you know, and that became the first Psychosin album, which is, looking back, probably the most extreme album I ever did, because it's very brutal, both the way it's produced and the actual material. So
yeah, that first Zyklon album, it's got the same sort of extreme production that a band like the UK's are now Nafrak now use, where it's very much a sort of wall of sound production on it.
Yeah, so yes, I think maybe that album reflected a little bit that that Emperor were coming to an end and became maybe a little bit too. Basically, Emperor split up more or less because it became too much of a compromise for everybody involved, and we wanted kind of different things, and by the time Emperor split up, I already had written most of World of Worms, the first Cyclone album, and it had a lot of fuck you attitude, like I just wanted, lots of extreme, very extreme sounding metal, basically, and we just were ready to start another chapter, basically, with that, and go out and play live with that band, and
Excellent. Now, talking of the other bands you've been in, just wondering, will we see another album from your sort of, it got labelled as an extreme metal supergroup, but another album from Scum?
I don't think so, no. It wasn't really a project that I started. That was Casey Chaos from Amen, who had the idea to come over from LA to Norway and sort of try to mix the his like punk vibe with the Norwegian black metal vibe.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of like a one-off spontaneous thing, and that whole album was kind of written in the studio more or less, and it was like definitely a cool experience. And we did a few live shows as well. We did one in UK in 2005 at the Underworld, which was a cool show, and like a festival in Norway, like the Øya Festival. But that was it really, and it wasn't really something that was supposed to be a new band or a beginning of something new. It was just something we did on the side. I was very
spur of the moment situation.
Yeah, sort of, and it was sort of case to case idea to try it, and we said like, yeah, well, why not give it a go? And we were kind of like curious on and I sometimes think it's kind of cool to try new things and yeah, give things a go. But at the same time, it wasn't really my project, and I had Zyklon going at the same time, and I really wanted to keep that going. And at that point, that was really my priority. So
yeah.
So I can't. I mean, and it's crazy. It's already over 10 years ago since we did that album. So I don't think it's going to be another one. And as far as I know, Casey Chaos hasn't managed to release his next Amen album yet. So I don't know what's going on with that. But
now, unfortunately, he does keep sort of saying it'll be out this year, but then it never happens. So I don't know what's happening there.
Keep on saying that, and that's kind of like, I don't know. I think I cannot really work in when things are kind of that slow in the working process. That doesn't really work out for me very well.
Yeah, yeah. Now, apart from, obviously you've just released the new Wretched End album, apart from the Wretched End, are there any other projects or bands that you're currently involved with?
No, it's not.
Fully just concentrating on the Wretched End, yeah?
Yeah, no, it's just been Wretched End, and obviously the Emperor thing, and who knows what happens with Emperor. I mean, everybody wants Emperor to go back on stage again and whatever, you know, but there's not going to be any albums, and as far as live shows, there's nothing planned, but you never know. You're never going to say never.
Now, what is the future for the Wretched End after the current album?
Yeah, well, there's no tour, because basically we don't play live, and so far we haven't played a single show with the Wretched End, and as I said earlier, it's sort of was created as an outlet for us as a creative unit, not really like a touring entertainment unit.
Yeah.
Based on a whole various of things. For one, like we are basically two guys running this project, and we live quite far away in countryside Norway, and we are not really like a group that's like a full band that gets together and rehearse every weekend sort of kind of band. And our drummer, Nils Dominator, who's living over in Stockholm, and is a full-time drummer for Dark Funeral. He obviously has his full-time commitments there. So I don't know. It depends what the future will bring. If we find the time and the priority and the timing good to do some shows. But as of now, there's nothing that is scheduled, and I think we are more inspired by the thought of starting to write new stuff and for a next album, rather than trying to find members to like go out and play live, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Now, finally, do you have anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Yeah, well, thanks for supporting us all over these years. Like, obviously, I hope also that a lot of the strong fan base of Emperor, that it seems to be ever growing, also take their time to actually check out our other projects, like Ishan's solo stuff and the Wretched End and Zyklon. Like, even though Emperor has been split up and for years, like we are still active musicians in this scene after 25 years or whatever, you know, and we are putting a lot of energy into our music and creative outlets. So I think people need to give the new stuff a chance as well, and not just focus on the big brother, being Emperor. I mean.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new album, In These Woods, from these... I forgot the name of the album, I do apologise, mate. But the new Wretched End album is out now. Go check it out, it's absolutely awesome. Samoth, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview today.
No problem. You're welcome.
Now, gentlemen, Samoth from the Wretched End.
I tried to